Hello, this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Go ahead and put your questions in the comments now. I have some information for you today, and I think that can help you to answer a certain question that a very common question that I've been getting. So, in the past few days, it has come out in the news that ICE is now collecting information from airlines, the travel information of individuals who are traveling within the country, or even internationally. So what's happening is that the Airlines Reporting Corporation acts like a middle person between, or middleman between, airlines and then third party booking sites like bookings, um, Expedia.com. And so what's happening is whenever individuals purchase travel tickets and airline tickets from those third party booking agencies, and it's transferred through the airline reporting agencies, the reporting corporation is selling this information to ICE. That means ICE can track all the people who purchase through those companies or whose information gets to this middleman. They can track it and they can cross check it against their own records. And if they want, they can definitely take action based on the information. So they can track anybody they want. They'll know when the arrival date, they'll know departure date, they'll know time and place, they'll know addresses and phone numbers. So, is it safe to travel within the United States? Because I know internationally is also one question within the United States. And based on, you can definitely come to your conclusion based on what I've just told you. That you definitely, if you decide to go on a plane or purchase certain airline tickets or bookings through those third party companies, that you are all of our information is being transferred to ICE, and they can use that information for their own benefit. So keep that in mind. That if it is it I think the number one concern is it safe to travel, as in, am I being tracked? Do I have the risk of being detained at the airport or while I'm traveling? And I think this definitely answers that question, as it is not safe if you're thinking about your risk of being detained or tracked. So keep that in mind, everybody, that is happening right now, which is scary, but this is the world we're living in right now. So just take that information and use it as you may to determine how you should move forward with your affairs. And all of us have to think about this, whether we're citizens, whether we have visas, because now we know that our information is being tracked and it is directly going to ICE, and they're tracking. Um, they're they have the potential to know everything we're doing at the same time that we're actually doing it. So that's one thing. All right. So I just want to also focus on your questions today. I know I wasn't on here in the past few days. So I want to make sure I jump on those questions. So put your questions in the comments, because today I'm just focusing on your questions. I have a question about administratively closed cases, the start reopening cases. Do you think it's better to reopen the case before they do? So this is really, now keep in mind that if they are going to go ahead, now I am not your attorney and I can't give you personalized legal advice. And this is really a strategic question that really has to be done with your attorney, because I don't know your case. I don't know the facts involved. But what I can tell you is procedurally, once they move to reopen the case, you only have 10 days to respond. So you if you even if you don't make the first move, you have to be ready. This is going to be happening in July, by the way. So that's another thing. Other news that hit is that ICE will be reopening administratively closed cases. So cases that were closed with no decisions, are now reopening them in July. They're going to be doing this in July and putting people who had previously been in removal but whose cases were closed, they're putting them back on the docket. So you will be getting notices. Here's what you need to do. You need to be prepared for that. If you're one of those individuals that had your case administratively closed so that you could pursue relief at the USCIS, that's where it's going to become very difficult again. Because the reason it was closed is so that you could pursue some cases, the reason it was closed is so that you could pursue other relief. Well, if it's open again, it means that you're back within this jurisdiction of the court, and the USCIS cannot provide you the official relief in most cases without the court first closing your case again. So this is happening, and people are going to start getting notices that their cases are being reopened in July. So keep that in mind and be ready. Talk to your counsel from now. Talk to your lawyers from now, and to be ready, because now you're going to have to go to the court. You're going to have to present potential defenses and or relief to the court again. And that has to be done starting 10 days after. If you fail to respond within those 10 days, then it could seriously compromise your defense going forward. So I say, now that you know this information, you know yourselves, you know whether you did have an administratively closed case, it's time to go ahead and strategize, plan, right? That's what we're all about here at ST Law Office, is planning ahead, strategizing to make sure that you have the best result. You can always give us a call, and then we can start talking to you about your options and how to move forward. If there's no criminal cases, do we have to be scared of traveling internationally? So with this case, here's the position at the law firm, and my position as an attorney and many other immigration attorneys. I'm not your attorney, so I can't tell you in particular. We have to advise on a case by case basis about travel, because everybody's circumstances are different. So you may not have a criminal case, but is there something else you're worried about in your background? Like, was there a past immigration issue in your past that could come right back, right? There are other types of issues that they may look at to give you problems to come back into the country. So while I can't say, it's definitely good news if you have no criminal record, it definitely lessens your risk of dealing with any problems coming back into the country. But just saying that you don't have a criminal record doesn't paint the full picture for me, because I want to know as many relevant facts as possible to be able to then say, and even then, I can't guarantee that somebody is safe traveling, but I can then give them an idea of the level of risk that they may have to expect. So having no criminal record is definitely a good starting point. But if you are in doubt about anything else in your background, it's time to have a conversation with an attorney. We can definitely talk to you. What's your consultation fee like? $150. Keep in mind that the way we start this is we do a free initial evaluation, and that helps you to determine whether we tell you whether there are options that we may be able to help you with. And then you can decide then, all right, do I want to enter a strategy session? with the attorneys based on what they have found. And at that point, it's $150. So I think it's very fair because we don't waste your time and money, and we get to evaluate whether there's something we may be able to help you with. All right. Has any of your clients received work permit through bona fide determination process? How long does it take to be sent out? I think you're repeatedly asking this question, and right now it's very slow. The good news is that our clients are getting the bona fides, and then they have to process the work permit. So once they get the bona fide determination letter, it means they're protected. They have that reassurance, but the work permits are going slower. Um, your employer can petition to you even if you're overstayed. I'm glad you asked this. In very limited cases, here's where you can definitely give us a call, schedule an appointment, and we can see if you're one of those who can still be petitioned for even with an overstay. But it is very, very unlikely. Very few people can do that. Now, here's the deal. This is what I always like to, and I say this, get the papers first. If you remember this, then nobody can con you into taking a job without taking a job, and then you find yourself trapped because they told you they're going to get the papers for you if you started working. Get the papers first, then start working. Don't start working and then get the papers, right? So if somebody tells you, I can get you your papers, but you have to come to the United States and you have to work for me, and then I'll get your papers. It's a lie. It's either blatant, straight up lie to lure you into working for them, or they don't know what they're talking about. They're not aware of the law. So, what you always need to know is get the papers first, then start working. If you remember that order, then nobody can, you will never find yourself stuck in a situation, an unpleasant situation. If an employer has lured you into a situation where you're working for them and now you realize that they're not filing those papers, or they may have lied, that could possibly be labor trafficking by fraud. And you can definitely talk to us and give us the facts, and we can confirm that. I came up on a tourist visa, got married after 30 days. I just found out about 90-day rule. Will that be an issue to get a green card? It could potentially be. So yes, there is. If you get married within, no, here's the difference though. Under case law, if you marry a US citizen, there's certain case law that says that it does not apply to marrying US citizens. So being the immediate relative of a US citizen. But you or your lawyer has to be ready with that information to be able to defend you if it does come up. How long does it take to get a U certificate after requesting? It depends because you're asking different law enforcement agencies. You know, so it depends on that agency. You always have to make sure you follow up. Can I travel with my 10-year green card? I have an arrest for reckless driving in Georgia, which I got a disposition before I got my green card. Is it safe to travel? I'm not your attorney, and I cannot tell you in particular if you can travel. And if you're watching and you are my client, please make sure you're asking this question to us, within the channels that we provide you to ask questions and to reach out for help. Because I do this on a case by case basis to determine whether it is safe to travel. Now, as a green card holder, you have the right to travel. They did make the decision, which means they did not find you inadmissible. So the offense that you were arrested for did not rise to the level of inadmissibility, and they did that before you got your green card. So it likely means that it's not going to be new information to them when you're traveling. Usually, if you maybe it happened after you got your papers, they've never evaluated your record before, then they find it, that could potentially be an issue. Another thing to keep in mind is also, if after you've gotten your green card, you get arrested, go through the process, but you never got anything forwarding you to, because it wasn't a deportable offense, right? But then if you leave the country, and this, by the way, is something that is happening, is trending right now. If you leave the country, so you're not deportable based on the particular criminal conduct, and so then you don't get any notices to appear in court for deportation. But in some cases, if you leave the country as a green card holder and you're coming back and they discover that new criminal issue, they can then turn around and say, you're now inadmissible because you are seeking readmission into the United States and they found this criminal record, so they're not going to let you in. So keep that in mind, an approach that is happening right now that you need to be aware of. So if you have any new arrests after getting your green card that they've never seen before, you're definitely at a heightened risk. Now, keep in mind, they are arresting people for traffic violations. They're taking them into ICE detention without even having access to go to the criminal trial, right? They haven't even been found guilty and they're detaining people. You see it in the news, but I have seen it myself. A client, that's what happened. They are doing it through traffic stops. So the minute they find a traffic violation, the police arrest and then transfer you to ICE. And the criminal court is just criminal court case is left hanging because they've locked you up in ICE detention and they're not taking you to finish all the trial. At that point, they don't care. They're just seeking to deport. Good evening. If a person AOS merit base was denied, failing to submit documents and then apply for VAWs, and then apply for VAWA, the new rules apply. So I'm not sure what new rules. You have to let me know what new rules you're referring to. Do I need any special doc to adjust my status through marriage if I have a J1 visa and my country is no longer required of the 2 years requirement? So it's not usually the country per se, it's usually the type of visa you have. Does the visa itself and the program that you came on, the work program you came on through the J1, does that require you to have the 2-year foreign residency? Did you get a no objection letter from your country, and are you applying for a waiver? So if after you checked and there's no 2-year foreign residency requirement, then you should be okay. That's not going to be a hurdle for the adjustment of status. If a person, so I answered that. All right. So I'm on TikTok and then I'm going to go to Instagram. So put your questions in the comments. It's okay to travel on tourism visa in the US. So the visa is there for you to travel to the United States. If you have a valid current visa, it's there for you to travel. But keep in mind that they are scrutinizing people, everybody who's coming in. So just make sure that you're on your P's and Q's, that you have all the proper documentation coming in, any explanations they want to have about your past travel. Make sure that you have that information coming in because the risk is high for everybody just because they are paying attention to everybody going into the country. Hi there, Singh. My asylum case was denied, but they give me from now up to 2nd of June to appeal again. So yes, you'd have to talk to your attorney, but that option is definitely there. I'm so sorry to hear though that it was denied, and the appeal though could be the hope to get it approved. Put your questions in the comments. Okay, where are you located? We are located in Delray Beach, Florida. And so, but we represent clients in all 50 states and the globe. And thank you for the love. I appreciate it. And the gifts. Thank you. All right. I'm married, but I'm in another state working. Is that a problem? It could be. So you definitely need to meet this challenge head on, because they are going to question why is it that you are in another state and your spouse is in one state. And if you are not prepared to answer, give a valid reason, it could definitely lead to issues. So you need to be prepared to answer that question. Okay, so for the J1 question, at the time you entered, the 2-year foreign residency requirement was there. That's what I'm getting. And if at the time you entered, you had the 2-year foreign residency requirement, then it may very well still apply to you. It just may not apply to those who entered after it changed, after it was updated. But you really do need to get specific legal advice. You can talk to one of our attorneys. We can listen to all your facts, look at the dates, and then be able to tell you whether it applies. So I definitely jump on that. So have you experienced T visa cases denied because of electronic signatures? I've heard it over YouTube. Would like to hear your input. Yes. So not me, because we adhere to a certain standard. We always work with our clients to get their signatures. So we don't do, they can accept copies of signature, but not like electronic signatures. So we have not experienced any of those issues, but it is happening. So people are getting requests for evidence or denials for originals, because the rule is you can give a copy of a signature, but you should have the original signature. So if they ask for the original signature, you can send that. And what's happened is that those people who the regulations maybe were a little vague, so people got a very liberal with electronic signatures, despite the rules, and because of that they have denied some of those. So yes, it is happening, and some people have to refile with original signatures. My green card was My green card was produced from April 24th, but still haven't received it. Got a tracking number, but it's not showing up. You definitely have to call them. So it should be fine if it was scanned and sent over to the attorney. Now, keep in mind that I can't say whether yours, I can't talk about yours in particular. And it really is up to the immigration officer who is reviewing the signatures to determine whether it's acceptable. But if it was scanned and it's a scan of the original, and that original is saved in the file folder, so the original was sent to the attorney and the attorney responds to a request for evidence with the original signatures and can show that the scanned version matches the original signatures in the file, then that's where it should be fine, right? Is that there's the original to the copy of that original. I want to send my stepmom invitation for graduation in December. How can I go about it? So this, I'm now on Instagram. Hello on Instagram. So what I would say here is, well, you can write a letter and you can submit it to them to submit with their visa application, that invitation. The invitation shows the reason that they'll be coming to the United States, which would be the graduation. However, keep in mind that the invitation itself is not necessarily going to be the make the case, right? It's not going to be the thing that creates the approval for the visa. You still have to show that you have strong ties to your own country to be able to get that visa. But the invitation definitely lets the officer know the reason for the visit. Is it safe to fly within the US with your EAD card? Yes, as long as you have a current valid EAD card, it's safe to travel. My husband, B1, B2 visa. Now, keep in mind, I cannot, once again, I'm speaking from a general perspective. Generally, it's safe. Now, as we move about, not as we've seen, not even US citizens are safe. We just had a US citizen traveling into Florida who was arrested and detained by ICE for a number of hours. We have been getting reports that US citizens are being detained, actually confirmed. These are confirmed reports that US citizens are being detained and have been detained for days and weeks before being released. So my point is, if US citizens aren't even safe from detention, it is never 100% safe for any of us, really. So generally, you are allowed to travel on your EAD card, but you always have to think about potential risk now. If they stop you and yes, they have your EAD, but what else is going on in your background that could create issues while you're traveling, right? Within the US or even and internationally. Unfortunately, this is the reality. And while I would say this, a majority of people are going to travel and it's going to be fine. But you always have to think about, are you going to be one of those that it's not going to be fine, right? It's important that you evaluate your own individual risks. My husband's B1, B2 visa has been denied 3 times. Is there anywhere he can apply again? No. So the embassy really makes that decision. So no matter where he applies, at the end of the day, it's going to be the officers at the embassy that's going to make the decision. So why aren't you consulting? Because I am busy working to get my clients results. I definitely understand that I'm here, I answer questions, but my attorneys that work very closely with me are just as capable of assisting you. And we are trying to help as many people as possible. I'm the main strategist behind each of my clients' cases. And so that means that my clients need me to be there. And what I'm doing is, when you come and you are able to do the consultations, you qualify for assistance, you become our clients, I am there working on your case, because that is the most important thing, is getting my clients result and being there 100% to do that. So we are a mid-sized firm. So we have team members of about 40 people that are working very hard. Some of our team members are working around the clock. and I am the person that's all, the buck stops with me. And at the end of the day, my clients are the ones who need my attention in their cases. So I have attorney Deanna, attorney Bria, who work very closely with me. We just even got from lunch. I just finished talking to attorney Deanna at lunch. And what were we talking about? The great results that we've gotten, how much we have to go hard for our clients, and what we need to do on those ends to make sure that we're helping as many people as possible. So you may not be able to schedule with me, but that is because I am working very hard to make sure that we get results for our clients. Because there are no approvals without my brain being involved in the process. And I need to put my energy there. But I'm here to answer questions, to let you know what to expect, and let you know that we have a safe space here. When you call, you talk to attorney Deanna, you talk to attorney Bria. I have worked with them. I have trained my staff myself, so they are a reflection of me. All right. Let's see. Let's see. How many days do they mail the VAWA receipt? So yeah, that is the latest thing. And what we've seen now, unfortunately, is it's taking 2 weeks to 12 weeks to get the receipt notice. So what usually that happens, it used to happen, the busy time was around the Christmas season because things used to slow down at the office, at the USCIS office. So when we're sending applications in it, we're not getting them till January. However, as you can imagine, there are many people that are applying for benefits. So they are inundated with a number of applications. And then they are changing their processes in the background as well, which is slowing things down even more. So it's taking about 12 weeks to get receipt notices now. If there is no criminal cases, do we have to be? So I answered that. Let me see. I'm on Instagram. Put your questions in the comments. Who attended the interview for adjustment of status for parents, only the parents, or the son too? So usually when they do interviews, sometimes they do want the petitioner there, the petitioners and the beneficiaries. You can look at the interview notice to see if they have specific instructions, but usually the petitioner and the beneficiary has to be there, except when it's outside of the country. Then they don't usually require, but I've seen a few cases where they have said they would like the US citizen or resident petitioner to be present internationally at the embassy in the other country. But for the most part, you can assume that petitioner and beneficiary should attend that interview. My T visa case is almost 12 months. So yeah, I'm seeing around the 18-month mark now for decisions. Good evening. My green card was okay. So I answered that. All right. So I'm back on TikTok. So put your questions in the comments. How long does it take to get an EAD card on the T visa? So upon approval, you definitely get the work permit and it comes right away. So I would say about 12 to 18 months after filing. And I notice times are getting longer, unfortunately. Um, they are supposed to be issuing work permits after bona fide determinations are processed. That is going slower. So I am estimating, I'm hopeful based on my past experience, because this is a new process, that the work permits could come anywhere from 6 months after 3 months after the bona fide determination is processed to 6 months after the bona fide determination is processed. So We still have to see what patterns there are. The last time I saw a work permit coming in on a bona fide determination, which they're coming in very slowly, extremely slowly, I would say it was 6 months processing time for that one after the bona fide determination was issued. U.S. citizen parent sponsor adult unmarried child, priority date is 2018 case. Now, how long again for the green card? So, in general, 5 to 7 years. I have advanced parole and also a Canadian visitor's visa. Is it okay for me to visit Canada? I would not be able to give you particular legal advice. I would say right now I am being very conservative about travel. I am telling my clients just wait until you get your official papers before you travel, right? So that's what I am telling my clients. However, I'm not your attorney. I can't give you particular legal advice. But the reason I'm saying that is because the risk is so high right now that something could go wrong while they're visiting. There's a lot of factors involved: your background, immigration background, criminal background. Are there any Is there anything of concern that could potentially blow back on you when you're trying to get back into the country, right? That they could turn around and use to deny you re-entry. So just keep that in mind. I received a signed U visa certification, but the officer put that I was not helpful. What can one do? So your attorney would really have to reach out and talk to them, because um, that's a problem. You do have to show that you reasonably cooperated, and so your attorney has to talk to the officer to see what that's all about, to have a discussion to see if that's really true. Sometimes the officer says you were not helpful, but that could be maybe you gave the report, but they never followed up with you. Was it a situation like that? And is the officer holding you to a higher standard of reasonably cooperating with them? So I would say this is definitely a job for your attorney to reach out to that officer and have a discussion. Hi, it's been 8 months since my case says decision. Is that okay? So I'm not sure if a decision was made, but um, yes, it's normal if they're saying it's ready for a decision or it's in process for a decision. It's normal for it to actually go on for months like that. That's why I say never hold your breath when you see these case status changes. Now, if they say a decision was made and you did not get the decision letter, you definitely have to reach out to them to figure out why, fix it, and get your decision. All right, no charge was made. Is it okay to travel outside of the country being a US citizen? US citizens definitely have a right to travel. They cannot deny you re entry into the country. We have been hearing about US citizens facing very uncomfortable situations, being detained, their devices, but detained, interrogated, they're being treated like criminals, their devices being reviewed for information. So that is happening. I mean, a vast majority of people are going through okay, but we have seen reports of people being US citizens being targeted. So I don't know what your background looks like, but be prepared for possibilities like that happening, and just understand your rights. Understand as a US citizen, they cannot deny you re entry, and just be prepared, and get legal advice if you're really concerned. A US born citizen, but parents are naturalized US citizens and have a pendant, I'm not sure what pendant record. Okay, so you're saying the same thing. So you're US born, parents are naturalized, and if they're naturalized, I don't know what pendant record means, but citizens can travel. It's just that right now, just the thought of some, being stopped and questioned and harassed, and just the thought of that is unsettling, right? Even for US citizens. But you know that you have to be granted entry into the country. It's just the stress of even just thinking of the possibility of that. But keep in mind that, if you don't have any concerns about your background, you're US born, no criminal record, um, you know, you have that right. So you have to just take it with a grain of salt, think about the risk in your particular case, and just be ready. Be ready for anything happening. Except you can't be deported, you can't be denied entry. Is it safe to travel on Greyhound bus or by flight domestically when you have an asylum work permit? So I would say this: having a work permit, a valid current work permit, definitely puts you in a better position than those who do not. So having a work permit gives you more flexibility to travel without any worries, because you are given that work permit shows that you're given the permission to be here while your case is pending. So now, once again, traveling presents its own risk. You should always consult with your attorney. Tell your attorney if you want to travel, so you get their information, you get their advice, because they know you best. But I would say, having your work permit, you're able to get your driver's license, you're able to drive, you're able to live your life with that work permit. So once you're approved for the T visa, you get the work permit right after. So as soon as we get it, within a week, sometimes we get the work permit before we even get the T visa. So that's really a nice surprise. When we get the work permit, we just know, oh my gosh, it was approved. If you was married in the state and you are in Jamaica, how can you find out if your spouse divorced you? You should you can check the court where you got married. If you got married at the court, check the court to see if they have, or actually, no, you don't have to go to the court where you got married. You have to go to the court in the area where you think your spouse could have divorced you, filed a divorce, and see there. Sometimes online you can search the local court records, and you can get a summary and see that something was filed. You can see the disposition of the case. So that could be one way to confirm that there was a divorce. And so oh, thank you so much, Queen Ella. I'm glad I'm very clear and eloquent. That's a very nice compliment. Thanks for the follow, Queen K. Can I still file for my fiance with driving without insurance on my record? Yes. If you're a US citizen, yes, that's fine. Filing for a fiance, because you have to be a US citizen to file for your fiance. And the charge that does not involve a minor. And that means that it's not going to prevent you from filing for your fiance. You can always give us a call. We can guide you through the process. Can you travel outside of the US after T visa is approved? Right now, I would say wait until you get your green card. That once you're approved for the T visa, it means that you can now have a path to permanent residence. I'm saying right now, it's not a great time to travel on any advanced parole. It's your choice, but I am just saying, across the board, I am being a lot more conservative. And if is it worth the risk to you? That would be my question. T visa holders can get their travel document, but getting a travel document does not create a right. It creates still a sort of privilege to travel that they can always take away from you. So if you're trying to get back into the country and now they're having more questions, right? And they decide they're not going to readmit you into the country, or they're gonna now not admit you but send you to deportation court and revoke the T visa. No, yeah, that sounds kind of outrageous, but if based on my experience, here's what comes to mind when I think about you trying to come in with a travel document and then them denying admission and revoking T. And it's my job, guys, to talk about the risk here. Unfortunately, with us as attorneys, we always have to think about worst case scenarios. So I always have to think about worst case scenarios so that I can properly advise my clients. I don't want to scare you, right? So I try to balance between the two. But these are serious times, and I don't want you to also underestimate how serious things are. Or I don't want you to overestimate the rights you're granted with a travel document, right? It's not really a right. But what comes to mind here is the T part of the T visa is you do have to show that, and it depends on where you travel to, but you have to show that you will experience extreme hardship if you go back to your country. And so if you say you got the T visa and then you apply for your travel document and now you're going back to your country to go and visit after many years, of not going back to your country. Then you're coming back. And this, by the way, was a trend that happened back with the last Trump administration, Trump 1.0. This is how I know. When you're coming back in with the travel document and a T visa, they look and they're like, but wait, this is a T visa. You have T status. And you said in your application that you couldn't go back to your country. You'll experience extreme hardship. So how are you going back to your country? Did you lie? You know what? We're gonna have to investigate this. And now you're finding they're reopening your T visa case. They're now looking for any reason to say that you lied about not being able to go back to your country. And then before you know it, you're having your T visa revoked. And things are, instead of going towards your green card, you're now going back, you're going to deportation. I would say that's a very realistic possibility again. So I say if you have a path to the green card and you do not want to take any risk, just get that green card first. Make sure that you have a more solid legal ground here in the United States. And I maybe even get citizenship depending on how these policies evolve over the time. If you're caught at the border and returned and then re-enter the US, can you do an I-601A through your wife? So this might be a permanent bar. And with the permanent bar, the I-601A may not be, it's not going to be the solution here. The only way to fix that is to stay outside of the United States for 10 years before you can then apply to re-enter because you have a permanent bar. But here's one thing. I once had a client who had a permanent bar, and the thing about it is nobody throughout her many years being here, everybody told her can't be done. You can't get any papers here because you have a permanent bar. But they didn't ask her the questions once again that we asked, and turns out she was trafficked, right? And because she was trafficked, she was able to overcome the permanent bar. The T visa is one of very few ways. T visas and VAWA are just one of the very few ways to overcome the permanent bar. And so our client was able to overcome the permanent bar and still obtain her T visa. So now, for the first time since she's been here in the US, after 20 years, she now has immigration status. She has her work permit, and we're now applying for her green card. Because guess what? When the T visa went under, what happened though? How we overcame that permanent bar is we have to ask for a waiver during the T visa process. And they consider all the facts here. They consider the fact that, okay, she was trafficked. And because of that, they went ahead and forgave her based on the waiver. And now she can apply for her green card as a T visa holder, and they will not hold that permanent bar against her. So that's another reason to make sure that you are going to an attorney that can ask the right questions, because there may be alternatives out there that you have not thought about, right? And so our client overcame it. And VAWA is the same thing. If you can show that you re-entered the country, you say you left, right, and then you came back without inspection and the permanent bar applied, but say it was because that relative, that US citizen or permanent resident relative, made you come back. It was related to mistreatment. Like, for example, they may have threatened you and said, you better find your way back here or else, right? So a situation like that. I mean, it could be different circumstances, different facts, but if you can, let's say that the mistreatment somehow is connected to your re-entry. Well, not somehow, you have to show a strong connection between the mistreatment and the re-entry into the United States. There is the possibility to overcome the permanent bar as well. So there you had some real pearls there. I just leave it to you now to definitely seek the help that you need, and let's see if there are other options available to you. All right. So if you get a bona fide from T visa, how long does it take to get the work permit? And they're very slow right now. The work permits are very slow. And I am hoping, based on my own experience dealing with case types similar, that we're probably looking at 6 months. I would say 3 months to 6 months after the bona fide determination is issued, not after filing. But keep in mind that this is a new policy, and we as attorneys were watching it. But it's not moving fast. We're all noticing that it's not moving very quickly. Having an EAD, which is a work permit, does that give you any legal status? No, it doesn't. But what it does show is that you have permission to be here while your process is going forward. So that's where it is. Thinking about girls' trip to Vegas, I don't have a green card or real ID. Is it safe to fly with my driver's license and my original passport from my country? Now, it depends on what your current status is. The real ID, you don't have your real ID. They're not going to accept that driver's license if it's not a real ID. You can travel with your passport, but the other thing you have to think about are just the personal risks that you face. I don't know your particular circumstances, but what I can say is now ICE is on an aggressive campaign. Not only ICE, but now in some states, local law enforcement are all on a they're all yeah, they're all on a campaign to detain as many undocumented immigrants, and we're seeing them having, big traffic stops. And now we're hearing about the airline reporting corporation reporting, not report, selling travel information to ICE. So they're using that information. They are utilizing that information for the purpose of deporting people. So you have to think about your personal risk when traveling, not just do you have the ID, but also what kind of personal risk do you face? All right, I'm on Instagram again. What about travel by train, bus to other states within the US? I know immigration enforcement can also have checkpoints at those locations as well. So it's possible that they can set up there in those locations. So you really have to take that information how you may and travel safely. How will I know my T visa has been approved? You will get notification. So you'll get the approval letter and then you'll get your work permit right after that. And then you can go to the Social Security office and okay, what's your opinion with what president is doing by welcoming white South Africans and deporting brown immigrants without due process? I think this speaks for itself. The huge, right, because when he first came in, he put a halt on taking in refugees, which is a regular process, but yet other refugees can't come into the country, but yet there is an exception being made for 50, I think it's like 50 or 49 South Africans that came on a, I guess, a private chartered plane. And I think it is done on purpose. It's really done on purpose to send that message. So it's definitely obvious what's happening here, that there is a form of discrimination that's going on, that these individuals and the so-called hardships that they're experiencing in South Africa is more valid than other immigrants who are going through violence, instability, war, persecution. That everything that is happening to them, they just need to deal with it. But when it comes to those South Africans, that their grief is valid, but it is meant to send a message, just like every other policy change, the ending of DEI, so-called DEI initiatives throughout the country, trying to extinguish it in public spaces and also private spaces like private schools. Harvard just took a stand against him trying to intervene into their affairs. But this is happening. Schools are getting letters about DEI. So it is very much a part of the campaign here, to send this message. Um, if you're in the USA and just get your green card, can I petition for my 5-year-old? Yes. Okay. So here's what I can say about that. If you're a green card holder, you just got your green card and you have your 5-year-old child who does not have their papers. The good news is they're 5, so they're not accruing unlawful presence. Which means that you may not even need a waiver, right? If as long as no other inadmissibilities apply, your child, if as long as they remain under 18, which if you're a green card holder, it's going to be much shorter. If you're a green card holder sponsoring your child under 21, it's going to be a much shorter process than 5 to 7 years. And even if it took 7 years, your 5-year-old would still be able to travel to the embassy and do an interview there, and they would see that are under 18, so they don't accrue unlawful presence, and that means they wouldn't be barred, and they can get their immigrant visa to quickly return to the United States as green card holders. I remember early on in my practice, This was back in 2016 when I did get a call from a family, and this happened, and it was a very stressful situation for that family. Now, still get legal advice, still make sure you have the guidance of an attorney, because the policies change, approaches change, so you want to make sure that attorney is guiding you every step of the way. But in this case, they contacted me and told me that they thought that they could just apply for adjustment of status for the child here in the United States. The adjustment of status was denied because the child in this case had overstayed, and it was a green card holder mother that was filing for her child. And they were told that the child had to go back to Jamaica to attend the interview. So now here's this big dilemma. They have an interview at the embassy, but they are scared. They were so scared to let the child go back to Jamaica and attend the interview there. But it turned out that was the only thing that could be done, because there was no way that the child could stay here and do adjustment of status. So they mustered up the courage, went to the interview, and came back, and everything was okay because the child was under 18. So they didn't hold the overstay against them for the period that they stayed here. And they didn't have any other inadmissibilities in their background. So that should be something to give you hope, but still make sure you get legal advice. Give us a call. Let's talk through it and move forward with a strategy after we learn all your facts. I filed joint I-751 in March 2024. Now I'm going through divorce. Do I wait to get the divorce certificate before I inform USCIS and amend the waiver? While I'm not your attorney, I can't give you particular legal advice. It has always been a practice of mine to issue the to let them know as soon as possible, because you have to apply for a waiver. You have to let immigration know that from now on, you are applying for a waiver, right? If you do not do that and they get to the end of your case, they're not going to say, oh, we see you're divorced. Can you give us a divorce decree? They're going to say this. If you wait and you never tell them, we see you're divorced and you're supposed to be filing jointly with your spouse. So then you're denied because you never applied for a waiver. So it's very important, as soon as you know you're going to apply for a waiver, you apply for the waiver and then let them know that divorce decree is going to be coming soon. So I'm disappointed. I called and we can't consult with you. So keep in mind that I'm doing the legal work. I definitely understand that this is my law firm. I am here on this video, but what I want you to know is that the best law firms have a team. And I have a team of attorneys that work with potential clients to make sure they're qualified so that you can work with me. I'm the main strategist behind my clients' cases, and I have to put their attention. We have hundreds of clients, and we have to make sure that I'm distributing my time wisely. So you are definitely missing out if you do not consult with one of our attorneys. We work very closely together and they have the same value system, they have the same information as me. But if you do not, and yes, they definitely identify complex cases. So definitely get in touch. But the first thing you do is do an initial evaluation, and that's free. And that's going to tell you whether we can take your case, whether we think there's an option for you. But if you do not consult with us and do a strategy session with one of our attorneys, you're missing out, okay? Because that is how we are able to help as many clients as possible, right? And I have to make sure I'm distributing my time. I wish I had 100 hours in the day, but we only have 24 hours. And I have a team of 40 that are working around the clock. We are a team of 3 attorneys right now. Plus, I do have other attorneys that work with me on a part time basis, and we are all working very hard to help as many people as possible. But you have to make the move to schedule the initial evaluation and then the strategy session so we can get to work, right? But we have a process here and we're doing it to reach as many people as possible. So you'll be taken care of by the team as well. They're the extension of me. I was on H2B, got an extension, and they let overstay our visa, telling us that they're going to extend. Get in touch with us. If you have an employer that told you, stay, keep working, we're working on that extension, and you found out they never applied for that extension, that possibly could mean that their whole motive was to not file those papers but still get you to work for their benefit. So it's at your detriment but their benefit. And that sounds like labor trafficking by fraud. But before we can determine that, we need to know all the facts involved. And this is where you need to call, talk to our attorneys here at ST Law Office. Go ahead and schedule. Now, another thing that's coming down the pipeline, by the way, is we don't have it up yet, but individuals used to be able to schedule their own evaluations. We're working on the back end to get that back up where you can schedule your own. We would still allow you to do your own initial evaluation, and then that would tell you, yes, whether we can help you, or not necessarily whether we can help you, but whether you qualify for our assistance, or whether there's not, maybe not an option we can help you with, right? But where that is coming down the pipeline, where you can do that from the comfort, safety of your own home, and then book your own appointment with us. I'll definitely make the announcement when that's coming. But in the meantime, give us a call and talk to us, right? You have to schedule with our attorneys. You have to call, do the free initial evaluation, and then once we determine that there looks like there are options we can help with, schedule with one of our attorneys, and they will definitely be able to walk you through some of the options and strategies that we can pursue on your behalf. I filed joint I-751 in March. Okay, so I answered that. Let's go. If they ban birthright citizenship, can it be retroactive from the year he or she was, or will start effectively? So I haven't heard anything about it being retroactive. Do I think that's going to happen? I think it's unlikely. However, if that does happen, I have not heard about it being applied retroactively. But they did say in the past that the executive order did put it at February 20th. So they may make the argument that they want to start it on February 20th, which could possibly make it retroactive. Honestly, I mean, it's based on the plain language of the Constitution. I just don't see how the court can find that an executive order can end birthright citizenship. That would be outrageous. It would be absolutely outrageous if the Supreme Court at the end of the day says, sure, the President of the United States executive order, which is nothing compared, it's not even a law, by the way. Executive orders are not even laws, right? It's like a proclamation by the president. It's like an announcement by the president. it has limited he has limited authority under executive actions. And this is where I really think all these signing all these executive orders is becoming very intimidating and scary to Americans, certain Americans and individuals. But what they're not realizing, many people who are being, who are afraid, frankly, of what this means, what they don't know is this is not statutory law. So he's dishing these things out, and people are thinking, oh my gosh, that's the new law. And he has very limited ability to make new laws based on executive orders. So to now have the Supreme Court say, oh, sure, we can end birthright citizenship based on an executive order, I would say then the Constitution does not mean one thing. And that's not going to happen. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Nothing supersedes the Constitution. So I really don't think it's going to happen. And if it does happen, we are in trouble. Mark my words, this country is in trouble if the court finds that the executive order is the right way to end birthright citizenship. My son here in the US, he's 14 and his father is an American citizen, but he doesn't have his last name. So he could possibly have gotten citizenship, but automatically. But is your 14-year-old, does he? No, there are two ways to look at this. Does your 14-year-old, where was your 14-year-old born? Where was his father at the time that he was born? When did his father get citizenship? And then, in addition to that, on the other hand, is what's the immigration status of your 14-year-old? So, these questions would have to be questions we talk to you about in a consultation. And that would be able to tell us whether your son is already a US citizen. But we need to answer those questions first. Last name doesn't mean a thing. His last name doesn't mean a thing. Sometimes they may order DNA tests, but as long as he's the biological father, he's fine. But we need to understand, where was your son when he was born? What's his current immigration status now? When did his father get citizenship? How many years has his father been living in the United States? Where was his father born? So we need to know that information to be able to tell you what's going to happen. Has anyone got a work permit through T Visa bona fide? So I have seen it. Yes. So it is there, but it's moving very slowly. And the one that I did see, it came 6 months after the bona fide was approved. I'm a student. My student visa is up, but your attorney say they can't help me. So if anything should change, you can definitely give us a call. But that's the reason for the initial evaluation, is for us to determine, is there an option that we can help you with? But we need to understand your situation. So start there. That's where I say we don't waste your time, we don't waste your money. There's nothing to lose, but we need to talk to you to determine. We found options for many people where they did not think they had any options, but we need to understand. Good evening. Is there anything that can be done for students? So I don't know what your situation is, though. And we work with particular options to help clients to get their work permit and to get their green card here in the US. So when we talk about student visas, we don't really work with to get people. We help students to get their green card and possibly their work permit if they qualify, but not necessarily to get the student visa. Thinking about, so I answered that. I applied for EAD for the first time based on Asylum. It's now more than 47 days and it's not approved. So usually at 150 days after your application is submitted, your asylum application is submitted, then you can apply for your adjustment of status for your work permit. So 150 days after your work permit is approved is 150 days after your asylum is submitted, then you can apply for the work permit. Then 30 days is when it comes, 180 days. So I don't know where you are on that timeline. Should I file for my visitor visa while having a pending T? Any conflicts? So when it comes to strategic questions like this, you should definitely make sure that you're talking to an attorney for sure. Um, because we'd have to understand why you'd want a visa extension, whether that's possible. So that's really a question you need in a consultation. 42B approved. How long does it take to get the green card? So it depends. It depends on processing times, but I would say it can be about 2 years to get that. So I've seen it about 2 years. All right. You're very welcome. I see you. If you're visiting from Jamaica and is staying more than 30 days, do you need to register? So that's for Canadians. If you come in with a visa, and I don't know if you're from Canada. So no, you said you're from Jamaica. So if you're coming in on a visa, no, you don't need to register. I applied for EAD for the first time based on asylum. It's no, so I answered that. My friend works in Washington State, want to go to New York to his wife to get his paperwork. Can he fly? It depends. It depends on the level of risk that they face. Definitely consult with their attorney. Good evening. Is there anything that can be done for students? So I answered that. Okay, could you tell us about the CSPA? So that is a Child Status Protection Act, and it is there to protect children from aging out during the process. But there are certain calculations depending on who's petitioning for the children or depending on the type of derivative application they have. So that's where it really differs. The calculations differ depending on what case type it is. Um, Why is your case saying 2 months before decision? So they have that annoying thing that doesn't really work and is not very accurate. So don't hold your breath. I got my VAWA and I-485 approved same day. Is this normal? Yes, it is normal. Absolutely. Congratulations. That means you're getting your green card in the mail soon. So that's excellent news. All right, that's gonna be it for me today. So thanks everybody for your time. I appreciate it, and I'm gonna work to be back tomorrow. So what I say: like, subscribe, follow, share, hit the like button because that is what gets people to know that I'm here. I'm giving this information so that they can be empowered in their immigration journey. I'm here to look at solutions to help immigrants find solutions, but we can't do that unless you seek help from us. So give us a call. The number, go to the link in the profile on TikTok, go to the description of the video in Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Go to link in the profile. You'll be able to see the link tree there. Go ahead, call the office, schedule your appointment, and then we can go ahead and talk to you about a strategy. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening. Bye bye.